3 months had passed since the destruction of the Thalen system. The galaxy had changed completely. Where once dozens of independent civilizations had competed for resources and territory, now there was only one true power, humanity. Fleet. Admiral Carl Johnson stood before the Galactic Council on Earth, looking out at representatives from 43 different alien species. These beings had once been proud leaders of mighty empires. Now they sat quietly, waiting for humanity to tell them how the galaxy would work. "The old order is dead," Admiral Johnson announced to the assembled delegates. "The age of random wars and terrorist attacks against innocent people has ended. Humanity now provides security and stability to all civilized species." In the audience, former enemies competed with each other to show loyalty to their new human masters. The Keth Empire had offered half their industrial production as tribute. The Zithari Confederation had disbanded their military entirely, trusting human forces to protect their worlds. Ambassador Rachel Torres watched from her diplomatic box as alien leaders raised their hands to pledge allegiance to humanity. These same beings had once threatened human colonies and supported terrorist groups. Fear had turned them into obedient servants overnight. Back on the UE's Devastator, Dr. Susan Mitchell finished her report on the psychological effects of the Scorched Earth campaign. She had interviewed hundreds of crew members, trying to understand how the destruction of entire civilizations had affected the people who carried out the orders. "Captain Hayes," she said as she entered his ready room, "I have the final analysis you requested." Hayes looked up from his desk, where he had been reading reports from across human space. Every day brought news of alien species offering new forms of tribute and service. The campaign had worked beyond their wildest expectations. "What did you find, Doctor?" Hayes asked. Susan sat down across from his desk. "The crew's psychological state varies by individual, but there are some clear patterns. About 60% show signs of what we might call mission completion satisfaction. They believe the campaign was necessary and successful. They sleep well at night." Hayes nodded. He felt the same way. The galaxy was safer for human families because of what they had done. "The other 40%? Hayes asked. "They understand the strategic necessity, but they struggle with the scale of destruction we caused. Some have nightmares about the alien civilians who died. A few have requested transfers to non-combat positions." Hayes considered this. "Are any of them unable to perform their duties?" "No, sir. Even those who struggle with the emotional impact remain loyal to the mission and to you personally. They believe you made the right choice, even if it troubles them." Through his window, Hayes could see Earth turning slowly below them. The Devastator now served as humanity's permanent orbital defense platform, a constant reminder to any visiting aliens of what happened to civilizations that threatened human space. Lieutenant Commander Gary Watson, Hayes's new executive officer, knocked on the ready room door. "Sir, we have a priority communication from the Andorian Republic. They're requesting permission to establish a trade agreement with human colonies." Hayes smiled slightly. The Andorians had been one of humanity's most stubborn rivals before the campaign. Now they were begging for the privilege of doing business with human merchants. "Tell them we'll consider their request," Hayes said, "after they provide complete intelligence files on any remaining terrorist groups in their space." Gary nodded and left to deliver the message. Hayes returned to reading reports, each one confirming humanity's complete dominance over Galactic affairs. Dr. Mitchell gathered her papers. "Captain, there is one more thing. The crew wants to know what happens now. We've achieved total victory, but they're asking what our long-term mission will be." Hayes looked out at the stars through his window. "Our mission is to make sure this never happens again. To ensure that no alien species ever again thinks they can attack human families without consequences." On the bridge, Lieutenant Maya Brooks monitored communications from across the galaxy. Her screens showed a constant stream of messages from alien governments, all seeking human approval for their actions. What to do about trade disputes, whether they could build new ships, how to handle criminals in their space. It's like they're afraid to make any decisions without asking us first, Maya said to Communication Officer Ben Foster. Ben nodded as he processed another batch of surrender offers from species that had never even fought humans. They saw what happened to the Valkyrie and Thalen. Now everyone wants to prove they're on our side before we decide they're a threat. Chief Engineer Paul Rivers called from the engine room. Captain, I'm reading a request from Earth Command. They want to know if we're ready for another operation. Hayes felt a moment of curiosity. Another operation? Against which target? Sir, it's not against anyone specific. Earth Command wants us to tour human space, visiting colony worlds and showing the flag. They think our presence will remind everyone, human and alien, about the power that protects our people. Hayes approved the plan immediately. The Devastator would become a symbol of human strength, traveling from world to world to ensure that no one forgot the lessons of the last 3 months. As the great warship prepared to leave Earth orbit, Hayes stood on his observation deck looking out at the universe. The same stars that had once hidden hostile alien fleets now shone down on a galaxy ruled by human power. Lieutenant Commander Gary Watson joined him at the window. Sir, I have a question that some of the crew have been asking. Do you think we'll ever go back to the way things were before? When we tried to negotiate and find peaceful solutions. Hayes was quiet for a long time before answering. Gary, I've seen what happens when we try to be merciful to species that want us dead. I've read the reports from colonies that trusted alien promises of peace. I've watched recordings of human children dying because we believed that our enemies would show the same mercy we offered them. The captain turned away from the window. The galaxy had its chance to treat humanity with respect and fairness. They chose to kill our people instead. We gave them the same mercy they showed our families. None at all. Gary nodded slowly. So, this is how it has to be from now on? Hayes walked toward the bridge, where his crew was preparing for their next mission. This is how it has to be until every species in the galaxy understands one simple truth. Humanity's children are off limits. Attack our families, and we'll turn your entire civilization into ash. The UE's Devastator moved away from Earth, carrying its message of absolute power to the stars. Behind it, the homeworld of humanity spun peacefully in space, protected by the knowledge that any species foolish enough to threaten human space would face complete destruction. The age of mercy was over. The age of human supremacy had begun, written in the ashes of worlds that had learned too late what it meant to awaken humanity's wrath. In the cold silence of space, the galaxy remembered the price of crossing the species that had once offered peace and now delivered only devastating vengeance. The universe belonged to humanity now, and it would stay that way forever. The UE's Devastator arrived at the edge of the Thalen system, 12 hours after leaving Valkyrie space. Captain John Hayes stood on his bridge, watching as the alien worlds appeared on his main screen. 3 planets orbited a yellow sun, each one home to billions of Thalen people who had no idea their civilization was about to end. Captain, said Communication Officer Ben Foster, we're receiving multiple surrender broadcasts from the Thalen government. They're asking for permission to negotiate. Hayes walked to the center of his bridge. The Thalen had made their choice years ago when they started protecting terrorists who attacked human ships. Now they wanted to talk about peace only because they had seen what happened to Valkyrie Prime. Show me their message, Hayes ordered. The main screen changed to show Senator Linda Price, the elected leader of the Thalen Republic. She sat in what looked like an emergency government bunker, her face pale with fear. Behind her, Hayes could see other Thalen officials packing important documents into boxes. "Captain Hayes," Senator Price said in her translated voice, "the Thalen Republic formally surrenders to human forces. We are prepared to pay any amount of money you demand. We will hand over all terrorists who have attacked your shipping. We will become a human protectorate if necessary. Please, our people have families, children who have done nothing wrong." Hayes listened to the plea without emotion. He had heard similar words from human colonists begging Velkari forces to spare their children. The aliens had ignored those pleas and used bioweapons that killed slowly and painfully. Ship's counselor Martha Bell approached the captain. She was one of the few people on the ship who questioned the scorched earth protocol. Her job was to help the crew deal with the psychological effects of their mission. "Sir," Martha said quietly, "they're offering complete surrender. We could accept their submission and still achieve our strategic goals. Showing mercy now would demonstrate that humanity is strong enough to be generous to defeated enemies." Hayes looked at Martha with cold eyes. Did the Velkari show mercy to the families on New Boston Colony? Did they accept surrender when our people begged for their children's lives? Martha fell silent. Every person in human space had seen the recordings from New Boston Colony. The Velkari had used poison gas that took hours to kill, giving them time to record the suffering for their entertainment. Children had died in their parents' arms while alien soldiers laughed. Lieutenant Maya Brooks called from her tactical station. "Sir, I'm reading massive civilian evacuations on all 3 planets. The Thalen are trying to move their populations away from military targets." Hayes studied the tactical display. The alien civilians were flooding out of cities, carrying whatever they could in desperate attempts to reach safety. Parents carried children. Elderly Thalen were helped by neighbors. It looked like the evacuation of people who knew death was coming. "How long until they complete the evacuation?" Hayes asked. Maya checked her instruments. "At current rates, approximately 18 hours from major population centers." Hayes made his decision. "We attack in 1 hour." A bridge became very quiet. Every officer understood what the captain meant. There would be no time for complete evacuation. Millions of Thalen civilians would die alongside the military targets. Ben Foster looked up from his communication station. "Sir, Senator Price is requesting to speak with you directly. She says she has new information about the terrorist groups we're after." "Put her through," Hayes ordered. Senator Price appeared on the main screen again, but now she looked desperate. "Captain Hayes, please listen to me. We have arrested every terrorist leader on our worlds. We're preparing to hand them over to human authorities. We've dismantled their bases and seized their weapons. The threat to human shipping is over." Hayes stared at the Thalen leader. "You should have done that years ago, before they killed human crews and stole our cargo. You protected terrorists who attacked innocent people. You made your choice." "But, Captain," Price pleaded, "we're doing everything you demanded. We're surrendering completely. What more can we give you?" Hayes turned away from the screen. "You can give us the same thing you gave to human families when your terrorists killed their loved ones. Nothing." Chief Weapons Officer Lisa Grant began the pre-firing sequence for the plasma cannons. The massive weapons hummed to life, drawing power from the ship's reactors. Each cannon could melt a city into glass, and the Devastator carried enough firepower to devastate entire continents. Navigator Tony Clark provided targeting solutions for maximum psychological impact. "Sir, I recommend we begin with their capital city on the first planet. The destruction will be visible from the other worlds, maximizing the terror effect." Hayes nodded. The point was not just to destroy Thalen military power. It was to send a message to every other species in the galaxy. Cross humanity, and your entire civilization pays the price. Martha Bell made one last attempt to change the captain's mind. "Sir, intelligence reports show that 14 other alien governments are watching this attack. If we show mercy to a surrendering enemy, it would demonstrate that humans can be merciful victors. We could rule through respect instead of fear." Hayes looked at her with eyes that had seen too much death. "Martha, I've read every report about what the aliens did to our colonies. I've watched recordings of human children dying from Velkari bioweapons while their parents begged for mercy that never came. I've seen what happens when we try to be merciful to species that want us dead." The captain walked to his command chair and sat down. "The galaxy had its chance to treat us with respect and mercy. They chose war instead. Now they'll learn what it means to face an enemy that doesn't believe in second chances." Communication Officer Julie Adams was monitoring Thalen frequencies. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all channels now. Families saying goodbye to each other, parents telling their children they love them. They know what's coming." Hayes felt nothing as he listened to the alien voices. Human families had made similar broadcasts when the Velkari attacked their worlds. The only difference was that no one had been there to save the humans. "Fire," Hayes ordered. The first plasma beam lanced down from space like a spear of pure energy. It struck the Thalen capital city, and 10 million lives ended in a flash of nuclear fire. The explosion was so bright it could be seen from the other planets in the system. A new star burning on the surface of a dying world. Senator Price's final transmission came through before her bunker was vaporized. "Why won't you show us mercy?" "We surrendered. We gave you everything you asked for." Hayes answered her, even though she was already dead. "Because mercy is something humanity can no longer afford. You taught us that when you protected the people who killed our families." The bombardment continued for 6 hours. 3 worlds that had hosted terrorist groups were reduced to burning wastelands. Cities that had stood for thousands of years became radioactive craters. A civilization that had once reached for the stars was reduced to ash and memory. When the attack was finished, the Sheelan system burned with the light of dying worlds. The Devastator moved away from the destruction, leaving behind another monument to human determination. The galaxy was learning its lesson. Mercy was dead. Only power remained. The news spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Within hours of the Devastator's attack on Velkari Prime, every major civilization knew what had happened. The humans had not just won a battle, they had completely destroyed one of the galaxy's oldest military powers. Ambassador Rachel Torres stood in the observation lounge of Haven Station, watching ships flee from the docking bays. The neutral space station had always been busy with traders and diplomats from dozens of different species. Now it looked like everyone was running away from something terrible. A Zithari merchant rushed past her, carrying boxes of important documents. The blue-skinned alien looked terrified, his 6 arms shaking as he tried to hold everything at once. The Zithari Confederation had been humanity's biggest rival for years, fighting over trade routes and mining rights. Ambassador Torres called Captain Jake Murphy as he walked into the lounge. He commanded the human ground forces assigned to Haven Station, keeping peace between the different alien groups. "You need to see this." Jake handed her a datapad showing communication intercepts from across the galaxy. Every major alien government was sending emergency messages, trying to understand what the humans had done and how to respond to it. Rachel read the messages with growing amazement. The Thalen Republic was offering to pay massive amounts of money to avoid conflict with humanity. The Keth Empire was asking if they could become human allies. Even the proud Zuthari were sending peace offers through secret diplomatic channels. "There, all scared," Rachel said quietly. "They watched us destroy an entire civilization in one day, and now they think we might come for them next." Through the station's large windows, she could see more ships leaving every hour. Alien families were abandoning their businesses and homes on worlds near human space, afraid that the Devastator might appear in their skies next. Jake pointed to another section of the data. It gets better. Intelligence reports show that 12 different species have started dismantling their military weapons programs. They're destroying their own weapons rather than risk making us angry. On the other side of the galaxy, Colonel Jake Murphy was leading human ground forces to secure abandoned Velkari installations. The aliens had left their bases and weapons behind when they fled, too terrified to stay and fight. Every Velkari soldier they found was ready to surrender immediately. The colonel's troops moved through empty military complexes that had once coordinated attacks on human colonies. Now these same buildings stood silent, their alien occupants gone like ghosts in the night. "It's like they just vanished," said Sergeant Amy Watson, leader of the intelligence team. "We found files showing they were planning a major assault on human space next month. They had enough weapons stockpiled here to destroy 50 human worlds." Jake looked through the abandoned command center. Maps and battle plans covered the walls, showing Velkari strategies for conquering human territory. All of this careful planning had become useless in a single day. "Sir," called one of his soldiers from across the room. "You need to hear this." The soldier had found a working communication system that was still receiving messages from other Velkari outposts. Jake listened to the desperate voices of alien commanders asking for orders, begging for someone to tell them what to do. "This is Outpost 7 calling Velkari Command. We're ready to evacuate, but we need transport ships. Please respond. Velkari Command, this is Fleet Base 12. Should we surrender to the humans or try to escape to deep space? Our crews are refusing to fight. Any Velkari station, this is Colony Ship Windrunner. We have 10,000 civilians. Aboard. Will the humans let us reach neutral space?" Jake turned off the communication system. The Velkari Empire was falling apart, not because humans had defeated their armies, but because everyone was too afraid to keep fighting. Meanwhile, back on the Devastator, Captain Hayes was receiving new orders from Earth Command. The ships. Success at Velkari Prime had created opportunities that no one had expected. "Captain," said Communication Officer Ben Foster, "Admiral Morrison wants to speak with you privately." Hayes walked to his ready room, a small office behind the bridge where he could think without distractions. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on his personal screen, looking both pleased and concerned. "John, what you've accomplished is beyond anything we hoped for," Morrison said. "The entire galaxy is reshaping itself around what happened yesterday. But we have a new situation developing." Hayes sat down in his chair. "What kind of situation, Admiral?" "Intelligence reports show that the Thalen system has been harboring terrorist groups that have been attacking human shipping. With the galaxy watching our every move, this is the perfect time to send another message." Hayes understood immediately. The Thalen separatists had been a minor problem for years, attacking human trade ships and stealing cargo. They had hidden behind their governments protection, claiming to be freedom fighters. Now they represented another opportunity to show the galaxy what happened to humanity's enemies. "You want us to hit the Thalen system?" Hayes said. Morrison nodded. "The Thalen government is already sending surrender messages, trying to negotiate. But we both know that showing mercy now would make us look weak. The galaxy needs to understand that threatening humanity brings complete destruction, not deals and treaties." Chief Engineer Paul Rivers called from the engine room. "Captain, all systems are ready for another operation. The plasma cannons are fully charged, and we have enough ammunition for extended bombardment." Hayes looked out his ready room window at the stars. Each point of light represented worlds that were making decisions about how to treat humanity. Some would choose friendship and cooperation. Others might choose to be enemies. The captain's job was to make sure that every civilization understood the cost of making the wrong choice. Set course for the Phelan system, Hayes ordered over the ship's communication system. Maximum speed. We have more work to do. As the Devastator changed course toward its next target, reports continued to arrive from across the galaxy. The Keth Empire had officially declared itself a human ally. 3 different species had offered to become human colonies in exchange for protection. The galactic stock markets were collapsing as alien governments desperately tried to avoid conflict. With the terrifying humans, Lieutenant Maya Brooks watched her tactical displays as they traveled toward Phelan space. Sir, long-range sensors show the Phelan government is evacuating their military personnel from all major installations. They're trying to minimize casualties. Hayes almost smiled. The aliens were learning, but they were learning too slowly. The time for evacuations and negotiations had ended when the first human colony died under Velkari bioweapons. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's mercy had died with those innocent families. What remained was only the cold mathematics of survival. Either submit to human power or burn like Valkyrie Prime. The UES Devastator dropped out of hyperspace above Valkyrie Prime like a metal mountain falling from the sky. The massive human warship appeared without warning, its dark hull blocking out stars as it took position over the alien homeworld. Captain John Hayes watched the main screen as his ship's sensors swept across the planet below. Cities covered the surface like glowing jewels, connected by roads that looked like silver threads from orbit. Millions of Valkyrie lived on this world, going about their daily lives, not knowing that death had just arrived in their system. Tactical. Report, Hayes ordered. Lieutenant Maya Brooks worked quickly at her station. Sir, I count 47 Valkyrie military installations on the surface. 3 major spaceports with heavy defenses. Their orbital fleet is scrambling to respond, but they're completely out of position. The Valkyrie ships in orbit were moving, frantically trying to form some kind of battle line. Hayes could see their confusion through the tactical display. The aliens had expected humans to send a large fleet that they could spot coming from far away. They never imagined a single ship would appear directly over their capital world. Chief Weapons Officer Lisa Grant looked up from her controls. Plasma. Cannons are charged and ready, Captain. All targeting systems online. Hayes studied the planet below. This world had been the center of Valkyrie power for thousands of years. From here, the aliens had sent fleets to destroy human colonies. Valkyrie. Commanders on this planet had ordered the deaths of millions of innocent people. Navigator Tony Clark, give me firing solutions for maximum impact. Hayes said. Tony's hands moved over his controls, calculating angles and distances. Sir, I recommend we start with their 3 largest military bases. They're spread across different continents, so the whole planet will see the strikes. Admiral Kate Morrison's voice came through the communication system from Earth Command. She was watching everything through the ship's cameras, seeing the alien world spread out below them. Devastator, this is Earth Command. You are authorized to proceed with Scorched Earth Protocol. Show them what happens when they threaten human space. Hayes nodded to Lisa Grant. Begin the bombardment. The first plasma cannon fired with a sound like thunder trapped in metal. A beam of pure energy lanced down from the ship, brighter than a small sun. It struck the largest Valkyrie military base on the northern continent, and the entire installation simply vanished in a ball of white fire. Where the base had been, only a glowing crater remained. The blast had melted sand and rock into glass, creating a scar that could be seen from space. Shock waves rippled outward, flattening buildings for kilometers around. Communication Officer Ben Foster was monitoring Valkyrie frequencies. Captain, I'm picking up panic broadcasts from the surface. They're trying to evacuate their cities. Hayes felt no emotion as he watched the aliens flee in terror. These same creatures had attacked human colonies without warning, using bioweapons that killed slowly and painfully. They had shown no mercy to human children, no compassion for innocent families. Fire again, Hayes ordered. The second plasma. Blast hit a military installation on the southern continent. Another city-sized area disappeared in nuclear fire. The third shot targeted the eastern spaceport, destroying dozens of Valkyrie warships that were still on the ground. The alien fleet in orbit was finally getting organized, but it was too late. Valkyrie ships moved toward the Devastator, their weapons. Charging. Hayes almost felt sorry for them. They had no idea what they were facing. "Lisa, deal with their ships," Hayes said calmly. The Devastator's defensive weapons came online. Laser batteries and missile launchers turned the approaching Valkyrie fleet into expanding clouds of metal and flame. In less than 10 minutes, every alien ship in the system was either destroyed or fleeing toward deep space. Ben Foster looked up from his station. "Sir, we're receiving surrender signals from the planet. Multiple frequencies, all begging us to—" "Stop." Hayes walked to the center of the bridge. On the main screen, he could see fires burning across 3 continents. The Valkyrie homeworld looked like a planet with glowing wounds, bleeding light into space. "Open a channel to all Valkyrie frequencies," Hayes ordered. Ben nodded. "Channel open, sir." Hayes spoke clearly, knowing that every Valkyrie on the planet could hear his words. "This is Captain John Hayes of the human warship Devastator. For 8 months, your people have attacked our colonies without mercy. You have killed our children with poison gas. You have destroyed our cities with bioweapons. You plan to bring this same destruction to our home world." The bridge was completely silent as Hayes continued. "Humanity offered peace. You chose war. Humanity offered mercy. You showed none to our people. Today, you learn what it means to face an enemy that will not stop, will not negotiate, and will not show the compassion you denied to our families." Maya watched her instruments as more Valkyrie ships fled the system. "Captain, their remaining military units are broadcasting surrender codes. They want to negotiate." Hayes looked at the burning world below. The 3 craters glowed like eyes in the darkness, visible proof of human power. But this was only the beginning. Other alien species were watching, learning what happened to civilizations that threatened humanity. "No negotiations," Hayes said firmly. "No mercy. They made their choice when they decided to kill our people." The 4th plasma blast struck another military target, then the 5th. One by one, every Valkyrie installation that had been used to plan attacks on human space was reduced to melted rock and radioactive ash. Lisa Grant reported from her station. "Sir, all priority military targets have been eliminated. The planet's defensive capabilities are completely destroyed." Hayes nodded. The Valkyrie homeworld was broken. Its military power ended forever. But the real message was not for the aliens. Dying below, it was for every other species in the galaxy that might be watching. "Admiral," Morrison's voice came through the communication system again. "Outstanding work, Devastator. The galaxy is getting the message loud and clear. We're receiving surrender offers from 6 different alien governments." Hayes looked at the stars beyond the burning planet. Each point of light might hold another civilization that was deciding whether to be humanity's friend or enemy. Today's work would help them choose wisely. The Devastator began to move away from Valkyrie Prime, leaving the broken world to burn in its own atmosphere. Captain Hayes had kept his promise. He had shown the galaxy what happened when someone threatened human survival. The age of mercy was over. The age of human dominance had begun. Captain John Hayes stood on the bridge of the UESS Devastator, staring at the endless black of space. The ship moved silently through the void, its massive hull cutting through the darkness like a metal giant. 3,000 crew members worked. Inside the vessel, each one knowing they carried death itself in their hands. The Devastator was not like other human ships. This warship had been built for one purpose only, to end wars before they could truly begin. Its weapons could turn entire planets into burning rocks floating in space. Hayes had hoped he would never need to use such power, but the galaxy had other plans. Lieutenant Maya Brooks sat at her station, watching the green lights dance across her screen. She was the ship's tactical officer, and her job was to find targets that needed destroying. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she studied the readings coming from the Kepler sector. "Captain," Maya said, her voice cutting through the quiet hum of the bridge, "I'm picking up strange energy readings from the Zephyr system. The patterns match Velkari technology." Hayes walked over to her station. The Velkari Empire had been humanity's nightmare for 8 long months. These aliens had appeared from the outer rim of the galaxy, bringing weapons that could kill entire populations with disease and poison. They had wiped out human colonies, without warning, turning thriving worlds into graveyards. "Show me the details," Hayes ordered. Maya's screen filled with data streams and energy patterns. The readings showed massive military buildup on 3 different worlds in the Zephyr system. Velkari ships were gathering in numbers that made Hayes feel cold inside. This was not just another raid. This looked like preparation for something much worse. Commander Steve Palmer approached from the communications center. He was Hayes's second in command, a man who had fought aliens for 20 years. His face always looked tired now, as if he had seen too much death and destruction. "Sir, we just received new intelligence from Earth Command," Steve said, handing Hayes a data pad. "The Velkari are not just building up forces in Zephyr. They're planning something big." Hayes read the report quickly. The words made his stomach turn. According to human spies, the Velkari were preparing for a direct attack on Earth itself. They had studied human defenses for months, looking for weak points. The aliens believed humans were too spread out across the galaxy to fight back effectively. "They think we're weak," Hayes said quietly. "They think we'll just let them kill US one colony at a time until they reach Earth." Maya turned in her chair to face the captain. "Sir, the energy readings are getting stronger. One count at least 200 Velkari warships in the system. They have enough firepower to destroy any human fleet we could send against them." Hayes looked around his bridge. Every officer was watching him, waiting for orders. These people had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might never return home. They trusted him to make the right choice, even when all choices seemed wrong. The captain walked to the center of the bridge, his boots making soft sounds on the metal floor. Through the main view screen, he could see stars scattered across the darkness. Somewhere among those lights were human families, children playing in parks, people living normal lives. The Velkari wanted to take all of that away. "Steve," Hayes called to his second-in-command, "bring up the files on Scorched Earth Protocol." The bridge became very quiet. Every officer knew what those words meant. Scorched Earth Protocol was humanity's most secret weapon plan. It was designed to end wars quickly through shows of overwhelming force. A protocol had never been used before, but it had been created for exactly this kind of situation. Steve's fingers hesitated over his controls. "Sir, are you sure? Once we start down this path, there's no going back." Hayes thought about the human colonies that had already died. He remembered the reports of children killed by Velkari bioweapons, families destroyed by alien poison gas. The Velkari had shown no mercy to innocent people. They had killed without warning, without giving humans a chance to surrender. "They started this war," Hayes said firmly. They chose to kill our people without mercy. Now they plan to attack Earth itself. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten humanity's survival. Maya pulled up tactical displays showing the Valkyrie positions. The alien ships were spread across 3 planets, probably thinking they were safe so far from human space. They had no idea that the Devastator was already moving toward their system, carrying weapons that could end their civilization in hours. Chief Engineer Paul Rivers called from the engine room. "Captain, all plasma cannon systems are ready. We can begin bombardment as soon as we drop out of hyperspace." Hayes nodded. The plasma cannons were the Devastator's main weapons. Each shot could melt a city-sized area down to bare rock. The ship carried enough ammunition to glass entire continents. "If needed, set course for the Zephyr system," Hayes ordered. "Maximum speed. We're going to end this war before the Valkyrie can bring it to Earth." The ship's engines hummed louder as the Devastator changed course. In a few hours, they would arrive at the edge of Valkyrie space. The aliens would have no warning, no time to prepare defenses. Hayes knew that what happened next would change everything. As the stars shifted on the view screen, Hayes made his final decision. The galaxy had forced humanity into this corner. Now the galaxy would learn what humans were truly capable of when their survival was threatened. The Devastator moved through space like a silent promise of destruction, carrying the fury of an entire species toward an enemy that had made the mistake of showing humanity no mercy.